All right, so we're back with another podcast. So Daryl, what did you think of Flanders? What a race, eh? I mean, today just a machine, and the big guys again in the front. What are your thoughts
Yeah,
on the race?
yeah, big day. Everybody was where we thought they would be. There was no surprises really in the front group there. I think most of us kind of thought those were going to be the guys. But yeah, it was such a weird day because I thought, okay, Vanderpool's got this. Vanderpool's got this. He's looking so good. Um, and then kind of wheels fell off. Wout coming back, like it looked like Wout was out of it ages ago. And then he's come back, and all of a sudden he's back in the game. Was a super exciting finish for second, that's for sure. But even the way today just hit every climb. Like he knew there's only one way to put Vanderpool on the limit in this race, and he was very, very clever in the race. If you watch most of the times when he attacked in this race, Vanderpool wasn't on his wheel. Like you often saw Vanderpool having to make these epic, like efforts to close the gap on the Quaremont and that just takes something out, right? It just takes something out of that energy bank. It has to. The fact that he was so good though, like Vanderpool was, he was on a good day as well. I think just today was just strong on the day, but
Yeah,
amazing race from today. Like
it looked. Vanderpool had was involved in that crash, I think. And then he had to chase back, and then he also had to. Then he swapped his bike. I guess he wanted his race bike. I guess the spare bike didn't feel quite the same. I think it's hard for a mechanic to get two bikes to feel exactly the same. It might also be a mental thing, I don't know. But he swapped back to his race bike. That was like 80K to go. Then had to chase back again and get back in the field. I wonder if that hurt him in the last hour, because he looked really good. The last 2 hours he was reacting, like you said. I mean, even though he did leave gaps at times, he came from the back. He was very explosive getting back to today. But then it seemed like after the last time up the Quaremont, it looks like the lights kind of went out a little. It looked like he was just dead at that point. Do you think the crash really hurt him, or do you think that didn't play a big part in the end?
Oh, it has to. I mean, it has to take something out of you when you see Pogacar just having a clean race, no mishaps, never getting caught out, never having to waste energy, team riding on the front all day, saving energy. It has to make an impact after 260K. They're like nobody's immune to wasting energy. So I think definitely had an impact on Vanderpool's race. Whether that would have been the difference between holding on or not, we'll never know that. But yeah, it has to negatively impact his race. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Like if today had to come back from a punch or whatever at an inopportune moment, yeah, it would have also been negative. But saying that, like he's also lost so many teammates early today, right? And
Yeah.
when you saw it, like I was like, oh, how's UAE gonna fix this scenario? There's only one method to solving this, and that's if today does a long bomb, and tries to pull the best bike riders with him, and then see who's the strongest, which he did. He just
Yeah.
decides, okay, I've got no teammates left. What's the next? That's all I got to do is make it as hard as possible. Select few can follow me. Then they chopping off with me all day, equally getting just as tired, and then we'll see who's got the best legs at the end. And he's not afraid to go for it like that, which is the sign of a champion, right? But look at that front group, like just world champions, right? It's like, I mean, Wout, you could say, okay, he hasn't won the world championships on the road, but he's often a silver medalist at the world championships. He's obviously won world championships in cyclocross. But let's be honest here, like that is a world class field in the front there. There's no jokers there. There's nobody that's just like it's the world's best, and that's what you expect from a race like a monument. That's what you expect to see in the end. Just the way the guys were fighting till the end was just insane. Like even Peterson, he just like clawing his way back, and then you get Staven coming back, and like it was. I was interested to know how that scenario was going to play out at the end because, particularly, I don't think they're best of friends, Staven and Peterson. So I think like in that mix at the final there, I was watching and thinking, oh, what's going to happen here? But you saw Staven did a good job there, um, allowing Mads to do a massive sprint in the end for second. But just the
Yeah.
way all these guys came back, and then you saw like did anyone see Jorgensen just blow? Like completely just went,
Yeah.
see you later, guys. I can't help.
I mean, he ended up at one point he was in the hunt for like fifth, for sixth place, and then he was like 2 minutes back at the back of the second group, I think, or even behind the
No,
second
he
group.
got caught. I think he got caught right in the death. Like I think
Yeah.
he just that second group just went straight by him, and then it was like the main bunch, which was that massive bunch. I think they caught him on the line, but like
Yeah.
he just had nothing left. He just was like
So empty.
just
Yeah? The
flat.
lights just went out. I mean, at that point, you've been, all those explosive efforts, burning through so many matches, 5,000 plus kilojoules at that point. I mean, it's pretty nuts. And what's impressive about today is just his fatigue resistance. He attacked, I think, 6 times before he rode away there in the end, and he literally just rode them off his wheel. I mean, he led into the Quaremont, and then he just accelerated. And that was, I think, the sixth time. And at that point, the guys were just, on their knees and they just couldn't follow. And what's quite cool to see is that those guys who finished second, third, Van der Poel, Pedersen, they're all in awe of today. They're like, yeah, he was the best, I mean, Pedersen was saying, this is the greatest cyclist of all time. And what can I do? I'm happy with second because there's nothing I can do. He's just that good.
Yeah, and when you look, even like Wout was like, he was just like, I had a great race. He never was like, oh, I missed something today. He was just like, I had what I had. I gave what I had. Like, if you look at Visma's performance, they had a great race. Like, the fact that Jorgensen blew up or whatever, it's just guys are committing for each other as much as they can to try and, get in a position where they can actually get back in the race to win it, and that means sacrificing themselves sometimes. And you just saw everyone just on their hands and knees. There was like, it was just, yeah, it was such a great bike ride. Like, I watched the whole thing, and it wasn't, I think I went to bed at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and my wife was like, geez, you stayed up to watch the whole race. But it was just actually that good to watch. That it was like, of course I was tired, but I was like, this was just, yeah, it was such a cool day to watch a bike race.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I mean, Van der Poel also, like when you watch him on today's wheel, he goes all in. Like goes so deep. I mean, if you guys have seen the Netflix documentaries, there's a shot of Van der Poel. There's a part where he's training and he's like doing some efforts, and then he's literally on the side of the road heaving, and his race director is like, it's scary how far he can push himself into the red, and you saw that in the race. I mean, he's just all in, like he's trying to stay with Tadej, and then finally he had to let go. But just to see how in his mind, he's going for the win. He wants to stay. He thinks he can stay with Tadej, and he goes until he literally, like, his body just gives way. It's pretty impressive to see how hard these guys go in the end, as well as being so talented.
And even he's not afraid to like go through with him. Like, he gets in the move with him, it's split. Today's like split the race, and then it's like, for sure he's on his limit. And then today flicks the elbow, and it's like you'd almost expect, and you wouldn't even question it if he went, no, I'm not doing a turn now, you're crazy, I've got to recover. But he goes through, right? He goes through because he's just like, I'm in this, we're going to ride away together. Obviously, the two of them, when they were in, there was 1 or 2 parts in the race where you see them talking, and there's no doubt going, listen, we need each other. Let's just go on this next climb, get rid of everybody else, and then we'll sort it out man v man, and that's kind of what happened. But John
He even attacked him at one point. He attacked. He took Tadej with him. They dropped everyone else. He was confident that he could win it for sure.
yeah.
So
I think, no,
hats off.
there's no doubt that everybody had it, just came out with whatever they had. They left it all out there, and there's no doubt guys sitting in that bus after that day, that front 10 or whatever, didn't go, oh, if this could have happened, or if I did this better. They were just like, so happy to see the finish line and done.
Yeah, no, totally. So that's a little bit about what we saw with the men's race. I also want to do a shout out to Colby Simmons, who's a rider I used to coach, and he actually got his first World Tour call up and actually first ride in the World Tour. He was in the development team for EF, and they called him up right before Flanders, and they said, okay, Colby, you're now part of the World Tour team, and your first race is Tour Flanders. And he's a rider it's the younger brother of Quinn Simmons, and just a rider who knows how to handle himself in the peloton. And what's funny is to see, you'll see some shots where Tadej is leading on some of the climbs, or he might not be leading, but he's in the pack, but you have Colby in his wheel, like early on, he's like there, in the right place. And it was quite a funny comment where he said he thought he was doing really well 100 k's in, but then he realized the guys hadn't started racing yet, you know.
Yeah.
But hats off to him. You know, he still finished. He finished 90th, I think, about 10 minutes back. But you know, first race in the World Tour, and to finish, and also to be up there helping Nelson Powers, I think that's an impressive ride from a young rider. You know, from a young American rider.
Man, you finish your first Flanders. You finish your first Flanders. You're a bike rider, especially if that's your first World Tour race. That's like, yeah, that's really impressive. So, I mean, you can look at the result, 90th, whatever, but to finish that kind of race, that's impressive.
So I know you watched the women's race. We didn't really have coverage here. It was hard to catch. So I know you had some thoughts on what you saw there. I know another great win by Lotte Kopecky, and nice to see Pauline up there, just in the road first season back and already second in an incredibly big race, the Tour of Flanders. What are your thoughts on what you saw there in the women's race?
Yeah, look, I only saw like a highlights reel, because I went to bed. But the you just see like, yeah, the women are. They race it differently, right? There's like more calmness, but then when it splits, it just splits, and then it's like kind of done. There's the strong just right away. Like when we saw Lotte Kopecky and Casinewedoma and Lippert and Pauline just right away, it was like they handle it the best, right? But it was a tricky situation there at the end. You got to feel for Cassia, who's like, she's always there. Right, she's always there in these hard races. She like, and I always feel sorry for her because there's always like four of them. So she always like narrowly misses the podium. Like it's just in that sprint, I was kind of hoping like, oh, maybe she'll get one through there this time, but narrowly missed the podium. But yeah, Kopecky, you could tell, strongest, led the sprint out from the front. There was a chasing group just behind. They were never going to catch them, but they had like 40, 50 seconds, so they had time to play. But nobody really had a go at the end there, which was quite interesting. I kind of would have thought someone would go, this is Flanders. I'm going to try win Flanders, and I probably can't beat Kopecky in a sprint. You saw Cassia had a go, but I would have liked to have seen one of the other ladies have a go earlier and see if they could try win it outright. But because that's the only way you're going to beat Kopecky, is trying to put a little bit on the limit or make her sprint earlier. But who's going to do that? That's the other thing, because whoever goes early, and if Kopecky chases them down, they're going to get fourth place. So very tricky situation there at the end. But big shout out to Kim Lacourt. She's from Namibia. She was fifth in the race. So that was something special, I think, for our African continent to have a top five in one of the big races around the world.
That's
kind
exciting.
yeah, that was interesting. Like, I could see her on the TV getting on the Patersburg. I thought, she looks like she's going to be dropped here, but she hung on there and then got fifth place. So won the bunch kick behind. So that's awesome for Africa, not South Africa, but Africa.
Yeah. Both of us being Africans, we both born in Africa, so always good to see African cyclists, representing on the international stage. So we've talked about those two races. Now we have a very exciting Sunday race with Paris Roubaix coming up. I think you've done it once, Daryl. I know you have some more stories. Tell us a little bit about Paris Roubaix. What's that like to race? I mean, it looks like a brutal race, very dangerous, crazy cobbles. I mean, these cobbles aren't really. These are like rocks, they're not, it's like almost borderline like gravel mountain bike type riding.
Well, it's not even, it's not even gravel, like gravel's still smooth at times, and it's completely different. It's like riding, like at some parts, like it's like almost riding like a corrugated road. If you've done one of those Karoo roads out in Cape Town, like just corrugations, and it's similar to that, but it's just brutal, man, because it's not even like there's gaps between the cobbles, your bike's getting thrown left, right. Obviously the best part to ride is on the sides because it's smoother, but then your risk of puncturing is more, and then there's the lips from the cobbles which are sharp and you can puncture, and then everybody, if it's wet, everybody obviously has to ride in the middle of the cobbles because the cobbles are like curved over. So if you ride on the sides of them, you can slip down. So there's only one line, and that's through the middle. And as as you know, it's a funnel every time you hit these cobble sectors. So that's the tricky part with Roubaix is you've got the first 100 Ks, which is warp speed, because if you get in the breakaway on that day, Roubaix has got a very good reputation of someone being successful from the breakaway. Matt Heyman won from the breakaway. We had Dillier, who was second. That time with Sagan. He was in the breakaway all day. There's been many occasions where somebody's been in the breakaway. I think Stuart O'Grady also won from the breakaway. So there's so much to win at Roubaix, but everybody also realizes that actually you can win Roubaix just from the early break. So that first 100 Ks is like warp speed, and it's tricky. And yes, there's guys thinking about the end of the race, but there's also a lot of guys that are thinking about getting up the road. And it's about finding that right mix. And often you'll see a big group going in Roubaix, and then it's up to a team that's just so strong they can just battle through. But the thing with Roubaix is it actually gets faster and faster, and it gets harder and harder, and your body just takes a beating more than these other races. It's just relentless. Like the pounding your body takes, your fingers after every sector are just like stinging, and your knuckles are sore, and you can't even grab the handlebars at some point. Then you've still got to try grab a bottle on the side of the road from a Swanee or after each sector, but you're actually so shaken up that you're just like, half the time you can't even get the feeling in your hand. It's nuts. And then you're still watching bike riders, and then you're still watching all the chaos around you, and the radio screaming about the next sector, and you complete one sector and you think, I got through there, and then it's just like it never ever stops. That washing machine just keeps going, and it's just chews battery all day.
Sounds hard. And I mean, I know when I rode the cobbles, I remember feeling like I had arthritis. Like after every little, I didn't race Paris Roubaix, but just riding a section of cobbles, I felt like I had arthritis in my hands. It was horrible. But then you see a guy like Van der Poel never wearing gloves, and I think today also doesn't wear gloves. I mean, how did these guys even do that? Like, it's just it's hard
Well,
to
some guys who
understand.
ride Roubaix, they don't want to wear gloves because of the friction the glove gives them on all those cobble sectors. They actually get like blisters. So some guys don't. Some guys actually tape their knuckles or their wrists, or everyone's got their own kind of thing. Some guys try and put double handlebar tape. Everybody finds their own comfort on the pavé, but yeah, it's weird. Like Remco, all these guys, it's like I don't know if it's a thing between the young guys. Like, listen, I'm so good, I don't need to wear gloves. My theory was I raced always with gloves because once you've hit your hand on the tar and you split open your palm of your hand, or you've hurt something, you realize how much you use your hands in a day. And if it's always sore and it's always irritating, or you put your hand on the handlebars and you can't because you've got a big cut, it puts you back. But obviously these guys are always riding in the front all day. It's kind of like they're almost saying, I'm never in the shit. Don't worry. I'm never in the back there with all the chaos. I don't have to worry about these big pileups. I don't
Yeah.
know what it is, but I wouldn't race without gloves.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know why they do that. But Van der Poel's never worn gloves. Even cyclocross, he never ever wears
Even
gloves. Yeah.
Kopecky had no gloves.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah,
Must be a
even
trend now.
Kopecky was
Yeah.
like, no ways, I'm going to boss this.
It's like it's fashionable, I guess. If you're cool, maybe. What was your personal experience racing Roubaix?
So I only did it once. There with Team Barloworld, but man, it was an insane race for me. It was so number one. Let me tell you. First, I did all the classics in my first year pro. I had no idea what I was doing, but we also had a race called Ronde van Drenthe, I think, the day before Roubaix. So Chris Froome and I were in that team. So we were the only two riding Ronde van Drenthe. It was 200k cobbled race up north in Holland. Day before Roubaix, hey? No, this is like we're not doing recon, we're doing a race. So anyway, we did this race the day before, and there's this one sector that just says, listen, you can't, there's this cobble sector. Yeah, we know on the side there's this big like bicycle path that you can take, but in the race they've said, listen, you're not allowed to use it. Anyone seen using this path will be kicked out the race. Anyway, we start the race and it's off to like 50k, and the only one guy goes on that bike path is Chris Froome. So he gets kicked out the race immediately. So he only did like 60 or 80 k's. He's been kicked out the race. I finished the race. Finished like 200 k's. I'm spent. And then we like after the race saying to Barlow, well, listen, well, what's the plan now to get to Roubaix? They're like, the two of you are taking a team car, we're driving it. So Chris Froome and I drive. We share the drive down to Roubaix. We get to the hotel at midnight. We're like, we have absolutely got no chance or any hope to do well in Roubaix the next day. But they need guys to start. The Italians didn't like to race Roubaix or anything like that. So we start this race. We start the next day, eat breakfast. Everyone's like, poof, big running for you boys. And just put in perspective, I've just been getting my ass handed to me the whole classics. I'm not finishing half the races. I don't even know where I am. I'm just getting belted. So is Chris. Anyway, we get to the start of this race. We're riding for Baden Cook. He's the guy who wants to do well in Roubaix. Longa Borghini as well. That's Elisa Longa Borghini's brother. So I raced with him. So we're riding this race. So the two of them are going for Roubaix. So I get this task just before the first sector. Daryl, maybe you can come back and get bottles. So I'm like, I've been out the back like last 10 wheels all day, just suffering on the wheels, just trying to stay in the bunch. And they've asked for bottles. And I'm like, oh, listen, I'm at the back anyway. I might as well get these bottles. And so I'm surrounded by Boonen and all these guys that are just taking it like really casually, like, oh, I'm waiting. They still got leg warmers on. They're like, race hasn't even started for them. Anyway, I go back to get these bottles. I get like 8 bottles and I've got like 10K to get there. But obviously, as you come into the sector, it starts getting faster and faster. And it's a little bit, the road starts to rise a little bit and a little bit lumpier. And I'm just like, there's no way I'm going to be able to get these guys these bottles. So as I'm like coming to the sector, they like Cookie's going, I like, Daryl, you have these bottles? And I'm like, mate, I'm just like, man, there's no chance I'm getting it. And I'm just, as we come into that first sector, it's like, I'm just chucking bottles because I'm like, I can't go over this sector with like 8 bottles. It's impossible. I'm going to go nowhere anyway. I'm going to get dropped. So I'm just chucking bottles as we come into sector. And as I get there, it's just one big pile up, But the pile up's already happened. I'm so far at the back. I got more than enough time to brake. I'm already, when you see those guys running in the field on their underside because they haven't crashed because they're so far behind, and everyone else is in this big pile. That was me. I was just like running around, and then I'm like rejoined the race, but I'm like in the third peloton. And then anyway, we end up, this race slows down, end up getting back in the race, but I'm just chasing for like the whole day. I was just chasing, right? So we get to this one sector, and Froome and I dropped, and we're like, oh, jeez. But now we're in the cars. But Roubaix, because there's once you get dropped in Roubaix, then the cars come around you. You're actually on the whole time, on the convoy or on the peloton, because there's just so much action and everybody's getting barraged, so you don't even know where you are. Then you get onto the tar, and then the cars just like shoot off past groups, but obviously they can't pass anyone on the pavé. So when you get to the road, you're like, oh, I'm actually like in group 10 now. Like I didn't even know the race is split. Anyway, we're in the cars, and Froome's just like, Daryl, we're still good, mate. We just got to stay in the cars. And I'm like, nah, it's just dusty. I can't see in front of me. I'm like, Froome, there's no way we're going to be able to get back to the peloton. Like, we're already dropped. Once the cars hit the tar, they're gone. Froome's like, no. So he carries on going, head down in between these cars. But you just see dust, eh? You just see dust. And I'm like, whoa, this is hectic. So I'm like backing out. I'm like, wow, this is dangerous. And next minute, I just see these like red lights. Like obviously, cars had to stop because the bike rider's in front of him. And I just see Froome just like tower over this car, like crash. I'm like, oof. So he gets up and he's like back on the bike, and the two of us together. And now we hit the road, and we're like riding. I'm like, mate, you're right. He's like, oh, jeez, man, that guy just braked out of nowhere. I'm like, it's dangerous, jeez, And then Froome's like, next minute he's like, these wheels are crap, eh? Look how buckled my wheel is from the pavé. I was like, man, you just hit a car. You just T-boned a car. Like, so anyway, so the story gets funnier. So now we're coming to, we do the Arenberg, and then there's a feed zone, I think, after the Arenberg, if I remember correctly. So we finished the Arenberg, and now we're like so far at the back. The broom wagon's behind us. So I'm like, oh, should we just jump in the broom wagon? And Froome's like, nah, let's just keep going to the feed zone. The team's waiting for us. Get to the feed zone. All the team cars are ducked. Everybody. We're like, oh shit, now it's like either jump in the broom wagon now. I think we actually told the broom wagon, go, we're going to get off in the feed zone so they could go to the next bunch of riders. And then, so for anyone who doesn't understand, a broom wagon is a big bus behind that you can put your bike in and sit in until the finish line if you can't finish the race. And it just gets more packed as you go along. But, so we had decided, no, we'll go with the team car, but they're gone now. So luckily, my wife, she was my girlfriend then, and a friend had come to watch. So they were still waiting in the feed zone there by the teams. They were like, because he wanted to collect all like the bags and the musettes and the bottles from all the other teams. He's like a bit of a fan, And Ali was obviously watching us. And then, so we jumped in his car, a little Fiesta, man. We put 2 bikes in there, little Fiesta. in between Chris and I, just hunched in. And then we get to the velodrome in Roubaix, and this guy's like, "You guys can't come through here. You don't have a pass." And then he's like, Jan's like, "Mate, I've got two riders in the back of my car." And we're just like full of sand and dust and mud. And we're just like, you got like half a gel on your face. And then we come into the pits and the team's like, "Oh, we didn't know where you were, but we're so glad to see you." So the two of us are just like, "Hey man, we're here." Like, so that was my first and only Roubaix. So I got to the velodrome by car, but not.
That's fair. That's hilarious, man. I'm sure that was probably also Chris Froome's last Paris Roubaix, I imagine.
Man, it's maybe I maybe did one with Sky. I'm not too sure, but
Yeah.
yeah, we were so green then, man. We had no idea. It was our first year pro, and we were just thrown into all these races. I mean, if you tell someone now you're going to ride Van Drenthe or whatever the day before Roubaix, they'll be like, "There's no way I can start that race." But like then, it was just you just do as you're told. You go from race to race. I think my first year pro I did like 85 race days or 90 race days. Like.
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't do a
nice.
grand tour at all, you know. You just like, and nowadays guys are riding like 55, 60 race days a year.
Yeah, things have changed, quite a bit. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
now guys don't race a lot. Like, they just train, prepare.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
today comes every race he arrives at it's to win, right? He just trains and then he shows up and whereas in the old days they used to use a lot of races for training. It was part of the
yeah, like
training.
that doesn't exist anymore. There's no one going to any race in the world, even if it's the fish and chips race down the road. It's like to win.
Yeah, yeah, it's changed. So what do you think for this who do you think's going to shine this weekend? Who are your favorites?
Man, I still like today needs a climb to put that dagger into Vanderpool. It's kind of like San Remo. It's like it needs to be hard. Like Roubaix, like Flanders was just there's some sectors which are just so hard. Like he gets that little edge. I don't see him having that edge over like a guy like Vanderpool or Ghana or on that kind of thing. I don't think it's hard enough for him. Like I really
Yeah.
don't. In terms of the parkour, like we're not talking about how hard the pavé is, and I still think like Vanderpool will handle that better. Team wise, I think like Alpecin's got a great team, Ineos got a great team. Sure, UAE's got a great team, but look, there's so many things that can happen on that day. But I think it's going to be I think we're going to see like a big revenge from like guys like Peterson and Wout, and it's going to be an interesting day. Like I don't think anyone can call it this Sunday. Like I will say that I don't think today is going to win. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
I also don't see him winning. I think for me, I'm gonna go with maybe Pedersen and then Van der Poel. I think those are the two big favorites for the win. But an early break, like you said, I mean, we saw Ghana and Tej Benoot get out in front, Stefan Kung early in Flanders. They'll probably be watched a little more closely, I would imagine, in Paris Roubaix because especially Ghana, maybe because he's could be really good there, could win that. But yeah, the early break, who knows who can win from there? That's going to
Well,
be interesting.
you can definitely get an outsider winning Roubaix because what I can see is like what I could see happening is they got today, you got Vanderpool, you got Ghana, you got all these guys, and the is struggling to find a spot to like really, unless the wind's right, really destroy the race. And then you've got like the breakaway up the road, which is consistently just riding consistent. Like they're just not losing time. Whereas there might be a bit of stop go, stop go, stop go, try to get the right mix behind, and maybe they run out of road to catch the breakaway. But and then you get a guy like it's just been in the break all day, and maybe he's just had a great run, hasn't had to fight for any sectors, and actually you think he's done 270k in the breakaway. But I can promise you, being in the breakaway, you're saving a lot more energy than being in that peloton behind there. Like those guys are just spending energy, chopping off, fighting each other, that nervous energy all day. The breakaway is the place you want to be on Sunday.
Who's your favorite for Sunday?
Favorite. I'm going to go with Peterson as well because it's actually a shame he hasn't won a monument. Like, like I think and it would be nice to see someone else win a monument, other than like the top guys who've got so many already. So I would like to go with Peterson, and I think he's got a great team. He's got like Staven, all those boys around him. A guy like Staven can win on Sunday. Like he's not like super watched. Of course, he's a threat, but you can only watch so many guys. But he's the kind of guy that could go, oh, I'm going to try and set up a Peterson attack, go with the right move. He's fast, he's quick. That's someone you can look out for, you know. And then you still got like the Alpecin guys. You're going to have Philipsen. You're going to have all those guys around there too, who also get in the break, you know.
Philipsen, you know, I think he was third last year, or second last year, or third. You know, he could be dangerous as well if he gets out in that early break. I mean, he's a strong, really strong rider. There's lots of good guys. A lot of big Belgian guys who live for these races. You know, there could be a lot of surprises, and it's going to be hot. I think. Well, dusty, warm, good weather. I think for Roubaix, which is, you know, makes for a fast race as well. So yeah,
it'd be interesting to see if UAE tries to play a different card, like have Vermeersch or someone up the road, someone like so strong. Like maybe they're not going to just, you know, sure today wants to win, but it's. I don't know if they're going to be riding like this is, or maybe they will. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, that could be a good strategy because everybody will be fixated on today, and then send up some of their teammates who can win. Also, Niels Pollitt, he's also been up there, right?
Yeah. So I mean, you're gonna have lots of different options, and especially if there's lots of action and the race loses control in the beginning because it's so hard. Everybody's trying to get in the attack. Usually, when it takes so long to go, it's usually a very, very strong break. So sometimes it's a breakaway that's like, poof, if we don't start riding when it's at 20 seconds, we'll never see them the rest of the day. So, you know.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're looking forward to Sunday. Finally, we think we've come up with a name. Let us know, thanks to Daryl and his creativity. Let us know your thoughts. We're thinking, instead of frankly speaking, like crankly speaking. I think it's quite a clever play on words. Let us know in the comments. What are your thoughts? Crankly speaking. Good one, Daryl.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's taken us about so many weeks to just come up with something. It was one of our guests, I think, that posted something or something to do with crank, and I was like, and then it just like popped in that, you know, creative brain of mine. So I swung it by you because some of them you didn't like what I said, and some of them that you suggested I also didn't quite like. You said I was lame in some of them, and you know, or people wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good one. So thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for watching the podcast. We're really enjoying also your comments, so please leave some more. Let us know if you're enjoying what we're discussing, and we'll be sure to let you know our audio podcast channels, which we'll launch on Apple and Spotify for starters. But for now, I think that'll be it, eh?
Thanks.
See you guys.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. See you later.
Thanks, guys. See you later. Cheers.